Good afternoon and welcome to the Seth Joyner Show. And do I have a show for you? I got some videos for you guys later in the show. We're going to break down everything that's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles and their quarterback situation. Jalen Hurts just yesterday named as a starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals game again after winning the first game last week of his rookie career against the New Orleans Saints. But this show I'm excited about. I got a bunch of different videos that I want to share with you guys, but this show I'm excited about because I get to spend about 35 minutes with a Hall of Fame cornerback that I played with in Arizona, during my 3-year tenure there. I bring him on because our Philadelphia Eagles are playing this week. His Arizona Cardinals and my ex-Arizona Cardinals, and it's going to be just an interesting week. I want you guys to give a Philadelphia welcome to Aeneas Williams. Aeneas, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I got a first question for you. Who you going for? You with the Eagles or you with the Cardinals?
Well, listen, let me do the math. I played for the Eagles for 8 years. I played for the Cardinals for 3 years. I'm not only going for the Eagles just because, I've got more invested in my time as an Eagle, but I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts, and I'm rooting for him in a major way because I don't know how much of what you saw last week of the game. I don't know if you even heard, what transpired after the game, but the head coach, when asked, what do you think about your young quarterback and how well he played, his response was it was a total team effort, everyone, and it just kind of threw me off balance, man, because, normally when a quarterback plays well, especially a young quarterback, what winds up happening is, there's a little bit of praise, some props, some thumbs up for the guy, but he just kind of avoided it altogether, which was weird to me. And I just kind of figured it out. It's like he didn't want to really bruise Carson Wentz's ego by giving this kid too much love. But like I said, I don't know how much you actually saw, but I thought he had a phenomenal first start for a rookie who didn't have no OTAs, no training camp, no preseason.
Come on, man! You beat my hometown Saints. Of course, I saw it, man.
So tell me, what do you think of his performance?
I got it. Well, one, Seth, you know this, and we can go all the way back to Coach Buddy Ryan. One of the most difficult offenses to defend is the quarterback that has the ability to be accurate and to throw the ball and to be able to move. Because you and I both know that eliminates pretty much two-man. You always have to have somebody facing the guy. Mm-hmm. When you have that dual threat, and Hurts provides that, and he provides the leadership, and out of all the intangibles, think about how this young man's character was forged, developed, and what we saw on a national platform at the University of Alabama, losing a position to Tua, coming in the game, the next year coming in the game in the SEC championship game, taking over for Tua and winning. What we saw probably brought tears to so many people's eyes. This young man, Coach Lovey used to say all the time, if you practice hard, you deserve it. And I love Carson Wentz, so I hope it works out for both of them. But to see this young man have this opportunity to be drafted, Seth, a surprise draft pick, and something was going on, Seth. We're talking about Carson now, but to draft him in the second round, something was already going on in the decision maker's mind to bring this kid in, because they knew they were not bringing in somebody who was just going to be a guy carrying a clipboard. So it's just interesting to see it come to fruition.
Well, it's interesting because, I guess, I haven't been in Philly, for about 4 or 5 weeks, but, I do the pre and post game back there, and I do my show, and I'm very active on social media during the game. And one of my one of my viewers said, did you hear the radio station today called you a Carson hater? Okay.
Wow.
So, my thing is, understand, I'm fair and impartial when it comes to my critique, but my critique is what it is. And because I'm 1,000 all the time. It's always raw. It's always straight to the point, because that's the way that I was raised in the game. I mean, there's no need to, bite your tongue and, sit with all this blood in your mouth. You might as well just say what's on your mind, So forever, I've always been fair and impartial when it comes to my critique of players. And Carson is a player that I had great hopes for as the quarterback in the future for, this Philadelphia Eagles franchise. But after watching him struggle through 12 consecutive weeks and listening to all the excuses that everyone wants to make, the offensive line, the running backs, the wide receivers can't get open, the offensive line has been hurt. To be honest with you, everyone's enduring that, through this pandemic season. And I would say that, when you make the commitment, you talked about them going and bringing in Jalen Hurts. Okay. So there's got to be something going on internal. Right. When you make a decision like that, the guy that has control over the draft pick, because what wound up happening is that just last year, they re-signed Carson to, $128 million extension, making him, quote unquote, a franchise quarterback. And then the following draft, you turn around and you take a quarterback with the 53rd or the 52nd, 53rd overall pick. Mm-hmm. Something doesn't seem right. And there seems to be some kind of internal strife. Now, some people are saying that draft pick caused Carson Wentz to be how he is right now, that he has faltered because this guy, Jalen Hurts, has been looking over his shoulder, a la Nick Foles, all over again. And some people have said that, quite frankly, this pick was made for this reason right here, is that he struggled for 12 games. And I would submit to you that Doug Peterson waited maybe three games too long before he made this move. But, to your point, listen, this kid's been through a lot. Jalen Hurts has been through a lot. A lot of people don't know the entire story. So for him to be able to step on the field, if people are waiting and wishing for him to falter and to fail, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to always be good. He's a rookie quarterback. He's going to see some things that he's never seen before. But he's not doing what Carson Wentz has been doing for 12 weeks. He's not turning the ball over to the tune of 2 turnovers per game. He's not making bad decisions. He's not compounding an already injured and bad football team by bad quarterback play. And when you pay a quarterback the type of money that they paid him, he's the one guy that can't play that way. He's the one guy, he's got to be the equalizing forces on the entire team to level things out. And he has just not been that. And we saw some of that in Jalen Hurts on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging with Arizona. It's ironic that the Arizona Cardinals are coming in, and as you and I talked about before we went live, it's ironic because the Arizona Cardinals made an unprecedented move a few years back by firing a head coach who had 3 years remaining on his contract after 1 year, and trading and getting rid of a quarterback that you moved up, Rosen. You moved up to the 10th spot in the draft. And you just blew it all up and hired a coach that had been fired from his alma mater, hired by USC as offensive coordinator, never, ever called a play at USC, had a conversation, found out from Coach Kingsbury, if I was drafting, I would draft Kyler Murray number 1. And now that the Cardinals have, and Michael Bidwell and Steve Keim, general manager, they made such a bold move, as you know, in the league, that was unprecedented. I would think if we went and asked these guys, Steve Keim as well as Michael, do they regret it, and ask the teammates, do they regret it, they would say no. So it's a drastic time. And the league is different, Seth. It's a different league now, man, even with these big contracts, these first-round picks, Haskins. The turnover is coming a lot faster than what people think.
Well, listen, there's absolutely no doubt about it, and you're correct. We talked about it, pre-show about that move and how similar these two scenarios are. But I would say this, Josh Rosen hadn't proven that he could get it done like Carson Wentz did 2017 before he got injured. The other thing is, Cliff Kingsbury had been trying to get to Kyler Murray ever since Kyler Murray came out of high school. So I'm pretty sure the conversation was with, Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell, hey, Cliff Kingsbury, we like your offensive innovation. We want you to come be, our head coach. And Cliff said, listen, I'll take the job under one circumstance. With the number 1 overall pick, I want Kyler Murray. Oh, but we just picked Josh Rosen. We think he'll fit. Nope, he ain't my guy. This is the guy that I want. Okay, and we're gonna package him up. We're gonna move him on, and we're going to get some draft picks for him. The difference is Carson Wentz has gotten to a point at the end of last year where they made the decision to sign him to the extension. Mm-hmm. So how do you navigate this right now? How do you move through a guy who, if you cut him next year, counts for almost $60 million against your cap? It almost seems to me that the Eagles, even if Jalen Hurts plays extremely well and they're in the mindset that they want to go in another direction, they're kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck, at least for 2021, to at least bring them in and have a quarterback competition. And people in Philadelphia are calling it we got a quarterback controversy. I was like, no, we don't have a quarterback controversy. What we have a quarterback competition. Because let's say that he finishes the season and goes 4-0 the last 4 games, Jalen Hurts. What do you do next year? Do you just go ahead and get rid of Wentz and make the decision? I don't think that's a smart thing to do. Because a 5-game sample size is not enough for me to say that, hey, Jalen Hurts is the guy, even though I think that he's got tremendous potential. When you can buy yourself 1 more year, spending the money that you were already going to spend on Carson Wentz, let him compete, and if Jalen Hurts beats him out at the end of training camp next year, now you can go into the season and try to find you a trade partner to actually move Carson. If Carson comes in and beats him out, then that's the way that it was supposed to work out anyway. That Carson was supposed to be the guy. Jalen was going to come on and develop, and then somewhere down the road, they'd have draft capital to be able to move him if they needed to do that.
But Seth, out of this whole story, I know we've talked about some other examples with Kyler and the Cardinals. I think we may have buried the lead because we already have a precedent for what's happened with the Philadelphia Eagles drafting Jalen Hurts, and that's the Green Bay Packers. And the Green Bay Packers take a quarterback, not in the second round, in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And we see the response of Aaron Rodgers. He could have pouted. He could have demanded a trade. He could have said, man, you guys could have gotten me more weapons. But it looks like something that was already deep within him has come out, and he's probably our leading MVP candidate, I would think, at this point of the season. And now Carson, and by the way, all Philadelphia fans, I love Carson and I love Hurts. I just want each of those young men to be in the situations that will be best for them and the team. And that's what they will find out at the end of these last 4 games. Because it's not hard to see the it factor, Seth. You know that, man. And players know it. And keen eye, logically sound thinking people can't ignore the tangibles. And that's what takes the team to the next level. That's what win the Super Bowls, when the pressure gets on and people don't rise, they begin to decrease. It looks like this kid accelerates under pressure.
Well, listen, to me, what you're talking about in this is competition. Okay. Yes. And the problem with the meritocracy that the NFL is supposed to be is that the only position that doesn't have to be won by way of merit is the quarterback position. Because when they draft someone number 1 overall, number 2 overall. Trust me, that guy's going to play unless he just can't, okay? What I know about competition, especially for a guy, that was drafted in the 8th round, competition is everything to me. It's everything to me. It's what allowed me to rise above what every other team had no expectation for, because someone gave me an opportunity to get on the NFL roster and compete and show what I could do, okay? So why is it so harmful that quarterbacks should have to compete for their job? I think it's healthy. I think Jalen Hurts is used to it, but I think that Carson Wentz isn't. And I think it makes Carson Wentz a little uneasy because he came in as the golden child,
right?
And all of a sudden he had, he's had a bad year this year, and someone else has stepped up to the plate of competition and pretty much stolen his thunder. So I don't get, if I want a psychologically, mentally strong quarterback.
Correct.
Okay. When you look at Aaron Rodgers said, bring on whoever it is that you want to bring on. I'm going to show you that, like Stephen A. said, that I'm a bad man. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So where is that is within you? Because when you want to be great and you know what wanting to be great is about, because I played with you for 3 years, I saw the transformation of your game playing in Buddy's system, okay? I mean, it's been well documented. You said that, hey, I don't even know if I want to be here,
right.
And after watching your skill set, I'm like, man, this is the perfect place for you to be,
Correct.
Okay? So it's really all about that competition. And when I encounter a guy, especially a professional athlete, that don't want to compete, that just wants it handed to him, I got a problem with that.
And what you're seeing, Seth, it's changing at the quarterback position. We have Jameis is not back in Tampa. He's gone. I don't think he ever got that second contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And we're starting to see that more and more. As I said, when Rivera goes to Washington, I mean, it didn't take him long in his mind, Haskins is not his guy. This is a guy that was drafted in the first round. And these coaches, still have the rookie salary cap, but even with these big contracts, it looks like the quarterback position is getting that same level of competition required that used to be for all other 10 positions on the field.
Let me ask you this question, and it's a little bit contentious, and it's a little bit, it makes people feel some type of way. For the longest, it was believed that African Americans weren't smart enough to play the quarterback position. And then over the years, guys like Ram and Doug Williams and, Michael Vick, even as we move in now, all of a sudden, that theory has been thrown out of the window. The thing that bothers me the most about, the African-American quarterback in today's game is the lack of development. When I see Haskins, I see, a guy that could light it up on the college level, okay? When I see Lamar Jackson, I see a guy who could light it up on the college level, won the Heisman, he runs with the football, he can do all of those things, but he's not a proficient thrower of the ball. And one of my Dan Green said his all-time favorite quarterback, Warren Moon. The issue is, you get these guys that come in, they're drafted in the first round with so much promise. And yeah, they can run the ball, but if they don't learn how to play the quarterback position the right way, if they don't learn how to operate from the pocket first and then use their athletic ability. I mean, you look at Cam Newton and, how he, like a shooting star and then all of a sudden just burned out, and I attribute a lot of that to not being coached and not being developed the proper way. When Lamar Jackson came in, I can remember being on Speak for Yourself with Jason Whitlock, and we were talking about, I said, I hope that Lamar Jackson goes to New England. And it was like, why would you want him to go there? I said, because I feel like anywhere he goes, he's going to have to sit for a minute.
Right.
And if he got to sit for a minute, what better place to be to learn the quarterback position under Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels?
Right.
Okay. My problem is these guys are like, oh, they don't have time to develop them. I say that they have to develop them, for the black quarterback to be everything that he needs, because, a lot of times these guys come in with the running game, RG3 with the running game. They can throw the ball, but they're not really proficient at throwing the ball. Mm-hmm. And they rely upon their skills more than they do their ability to throw the ball. And that equates to a shorter career span. Now, Jalen Hurts, when he left Alabama and went to Oklahoma, that development he got. When you watch him play, you can see him going through his progression. You can see the level of comfort and the even keel that he displays in the pocket. The old saying, the duck kind of just like glides across the water, but underneath the feet that's what he looks like. But there's a lot of guys that play the position that don't play the game that way.
Seth, in the comments as it relates to the African American quarterback, no doubt about it. As my dad says, he says, son, it's not what people don't know that hurt them, it's what they do know that's not true. The truth is like a pack of lions that needs no defending. Once the African American quarterback really got coaches that really believed that they could play the position, it was a game changer. And Seth is not going back. We will see more and more African American quarterbacks at the quarterback position. A lot of it starts all the way down to the 7-on-7 at Little League. So they're learning how to throw the ball. Lamar knows how to throw the ball. And all of these guys know how to throw the ball. Now what we're talking about is the understanding of the game and the ability to now have pinpointed accuracy and throw guys open. That comes with coaching. Seth, if you and I name any major quarterback, Hall of Famer, we can connect them with a coach. Think about that, right? We can connect them with the coach. Remember, Jerry Glanville was going to cut Brett Favre, and he ends up with Mike Holmgren. We see third rounder Joe Montana, a little frail guy out of Notre Dame, and he gets with a genius, Bill Walsh. And Tom Brady, the best contemporary coach, defense, offense, special teams, Bill Belichick of all times. Carson Wentz, let's go back home, right where you are, right? Frank Wright. Yes, Doug's play quarterback, but that head coach, as you know, he's like the CEO. It's that position coach that helps you see the game. And I think, I'll never forget Marshall Faulk said something to me, Seth. He was being inducted into the Rams Hall of Fame, Ring of Fame, when we were still in St. Louis. And before he went to give his introduction, I asked Marshall, I said, Marshall, what was different when you came to the Rams? He was the number 4 draft pick overall with Indianapolis. I said, what made the difference? He said, Nias, I learned to see the game through another man's eyes, Seth. I said, what are you talking about? He said, Wilbur Montgomery, Philadelphia, shout out to the Eagles, right? Wilbur Montgomery was his running backs coach. I said, Marshall, what do you mean? He said, man, well, Wilbur Marshall played in the league, but he was more of a 3-yard and a cloud of dust type running back. He said, I got vision. I'm a catcher. He says, you know how I am, A-Dub. I said, well, what made you finally listen to him? He said, because when I first got there, Wilbur would give me some correction, say, hey, Marshall, if you had seen this, instead of this being a 5-yard run, you would have taken it to the house. And Marshall said he finally just started listening to him and doing what he said, and it was a game changer. It goes back to, then here's another one. This goes back to coaching and why I'm making this point, Seth. If these guys do not get with the right coaches, man, I don't care how talented they are going to be limited. And defenses are going to catch up with them. But when you have those guys who literally, who are your coaches, can allow you to see through their binoculars, it's a game changer. I asked Wilbur Marshall, Wilbur Montgomery. I say, hey, Coach Wilbur. After I talked to Marshall, I went and found Wilbur. He was working with the Ravens. I said, he said, at first, we didn't want Marshall. I said, why? Because the things, just there was a lot of stuff being said. He said, but once we decided we were going to trade for him, he said, the first thing I did, said the first thing he did was call up the Detroit Lions running back coach. I said, why'd you call him? He said, because I wanted to know what it was like. What's the mentality needed for a coach to coach a great player? And he said, and I don't even know who that running back coach was. He told Wilbert, he said, a mistake coaches make is they don't coach their great players when they don't realize great players love to be coached. And Wilbur said that was a game changer. So going back to these examples with these quarterbacks, if these guys don't get around coaches who know the game from a precision, Michael Vick goes to Philadelphia, gets with Andy Reid, it changes the game. Patrick Mahomes could not have ended up with that talent in a better position set. It's almost like it's unfair. And that's what a lot of these young guys miss.
Well, you listen to the Seth Joyner show. My guest today is Hall of Fame cornerback Aeneas Williams. The point that you made, makes a lot of sense. You talk about, good players like to be coached. They like to be coached hard too.
Correct.
I mean, if there's some information that you can give me that helps me become better, give it to me, And my ego and my skin isn't so thin that, if you yell at me a little bit, that I'm going to get, bent out of shape. See, that's kind of the world we live in today. When you try to coach these guys hard today, you say the wrong thing, you lose them, So now, you got to kind of be particular. People always ask me, man, why aren't you coaching? You should be coaching. Because the same fire that burned in me when I played is the same fire that burned in me now, So then I got to get to know each and every one of my players and try to figure out which one I can touch and scorch and which one I got to put a oven glove on and touch them. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So trying to figure out how to deal with, the players of today. But I want to segue because we got probably about another 8 minutes before I'm going to let you run. I want you guys to know, and he's going to join me the first 35 minutes of the show. I got some film that I'm going to break down for you guys. And I see all your questions, everything going on, everything you guys want to talk about, the last 20, 25 minutes of the show. I'm going to just scroll through here and take a bunch of your questions and answer your questions. And we'll go that route. But before I let you go, you're connected to the Arizona Cardinals. Okay. Tell me what you see from an overall perspective. Give us, kind of a synopsis of, what's going on with this football team. Because, last week, defensively, they showed up. Hassan Reddick had 5 sacks. Gardeck had 2 sacks. And Marcus Golden, who just got traded back from the New York Giants to the Cardinals a couple of weeks ago, had a sack. Okay, so out of nowhere, the defense just all of a sudden, 3 calls fumbles by Hassan Reddick, and just all of a sudden they just explode. There was a point in time offensively where the offense was just so dominant that all they needed the defense to do was just maintain. But over the last couple of weeks, I think, DeAndre Hopkins just had his first 100-yard game, and I think the last 3 weeks, last week, Larry Fitzgerald has kind of been phased out of the deal. And they've got some good running backs, but, with Kyler running the ball, it's a whole different deal. Tell my Philly listeners, give them an idea of what it is they have to look forward to as the Philadelphia Eagles make the trek down to Arizona to play the Cardinals on Sunday.
Well, they started off very, very well, as you know, Seth. But when you're dealing with a young head coach who's also learning, who's also maturing, you have a young quarterback who's doing the same thing. Watch the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of talent on that team, Seth. A lot of talent on that team. I don't know what the Texans were thinking when they traded Hopkins. And the talent that Kyler has around him, it's now him learning when to run and when to make sure I'm able to be in the pocket and get these guys, throw these guys open and allow those guys yards after catch or opportunities to have yards after the catch. I think we will see the Cardinals getting better. It's a team that's still figuring out a confidence about winning. Because as you know, just as losing is a habit, so is winning.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes time to learn to win. Because you win 2 or 3 games, you start thinking you're all that in a bag of chips. And when you have a young coach, older coaches, veteran coaches, they know how to make the practice that next week set like as if you lost the game.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we have the younger coaches and rah, let's go. They're learning on how to motivate these professional guys. So I sense the Cardinals will be one of the surprise teams and may end up in the playoffs. And if they end up in the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if they win a game or 2 in the playoffs.
Well, listen, you feel like you're going to get 3 teams out of the NFC West this year? Because that's what it'll take. I mean, the Rams are sitting right there. Them and Seattle, they're battling for the number 1 spot. And because of the record over in the NFC East, there's only 1 team coming out of the East.
Right.
They shouldn't even come out. They ought to just wipe them off the deal, for this year and bringing them back next year. But that being said, I mean, what you're talking about is 3 teams coming out of the NFC West.
Well, the way the league scheduled the games, they're going to play each other. I think the Rams will get in, and for some reason, I think the Cardinals have what's needed to finish strong and enough veteran leadership around them to win a game or 2 in the playoffs. I don't trust Seattle. I just don't trust their defense. And the running backs seem to consistently get injured. We've seen what happened. Russell started off on fire, and we heard statements like, let Russell cook. No, we found out when you allow Russell to just wing the ball like that, you end up with turnovers. And immediately when Pete Carroll criticized Russell during a press conference, it changed. And all of a sudden we saw Russell handing that ball off more and being more precise and more intentional with his plays. The other thing I noticed with Russell, DK Metcalf, huge specimen. I would have loved to go up against him. But I do notice that when Russell looks like there's a guy like Jalen Ramsey on him, he's not going to force the ball. So I'm concerned, Seth, with Seattle because of their defense. And I think the Cardinals, because I think the Cardinals play them again, will have an opportunity to beat them. So stay tuned.
You talking about Seattle?
I'm talking about Seattle.
No, I think Seattle.
They played each other twice already?
Yeah, the Cardinals beat them in Seattle, and then they came to Arizona and they beat the Cardinals at home just a couple of weeks ago. Okay. I agree. I'm just trying to figure out, if this Arizona Cardinals team is, has the right mindset, because they're young. They got some veterans, but they're young in some areas, and they're getting to a place where they can take the next step. Obviously, the biggest step that they need to take is to just get to the playoffs. Right. Because for me, it's a process. You got to get there. You got to experience it, and that may mean losing the first time through. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now we know what to expect. So when we come back and we come through the next time, this is how we approach it. I'd like to see more consistency out of Kyler Murray. There's some games, I don't know how well his shoulder actually is. Correct. I know he was having some issues. He hasn't been running as much as he needed to, or as much as he has in the past. And I like to see them utilize, I'm going to tell you who my favorite running back is. My favorite running back is Chase Edmonds. I love that kid.
Wow.
I mean, he is a handful in the running game and the passing game. Now there's nothing wrong with Kenyon Drake because he brings some size to the table. But man, listen, I watch Chase Edmonds play, man, and that dude just plays at a whole different level. And he scares me more than Kenyon Drake.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just, going into this game, you look at the matchup. The Eagles are beat up on the defensive side of the ball. The starting safety, Rodney McLeod, is out towards ACL last week. Wow. You got Avonte Maddox, who's beat up. He had to leave the game last week. And then you got Darius Slay, who has just, had a rough year after being a guy that was considered a shutdown corner. You had Devontae Adams and DK Metcalf in back-to-back weeks take him out to the woodshed and pull his pants down. It was, and,
hey, man, you can't talk about a cornerback like that, man.
Yeah, you can. Me, man. I talk about everybody like that. But listen, these are the issues that they're facing. Who are they going to put on? If Darius Slay doesn't play, who are they going to put on DeAndre Hopkins? And then how does that open the field up for the rest of the Cardinal wide receivers? The Eagles' defensive line has been lights out the last couple of weeks. I mean, they have just been getting pressure, from all angles. They have ramped it up. And I think the energy that Jalen Hurts has infused is, these guys feel like now, hey, we have a shot to win because we're not turning it over. The secondary is going to be an issue. The running game, depending on how they utilize it. Chase Edmonds, I talk about him because of the matchup with him and the linebacker out of the backfield and the tight end. The Cardinals don't really employ tight end, but the Eagles have been one of the worst defenses covering tight ends, in the NFL this year. Okay. And then when you flip it over the other way, what does the Cardinals defense look like matched up against, this Eagles offense that all of a sudden, had a 100-yard running back, had a 100-yard rushing quarterback last week. And then the quarterback, who, even though he's young, he's standing there with poise against a young offensive line that's just been decimated with only one starter left, on the offensive line right now.
One of the things it does, Seth, with the Eagles, you mentioned the defensive line has been playing a lot better. Well, you play a lot better, not only because you're not turning the ball over, but you're running the clock down. When you're running the ball, when you have two 100-yard rushers, whether it's the quarterback and running back against the Saints, you've now limited the amount of opportunities that the Saints offense has, and you're going to wear down a defense. As you know, nothing is more demoralizing than running the ball. So to have that, to go into the game with that and have that element at the quarterback position, it will always allow, I'll be surprised if the Eagles are not consistently in games and now possibly Jalen gives you a chance at the end to win it because of the type of mentality that he has now. Carson Wentz may have it, but until you rebuild his confidence, you may not see it, if that makes sense.
Well, not this year. I mean, listen, I've said from week 3 that the Eagles have a quarterback problem. I said, 2 to 3 weeks ago, the Eagles need to make the transition and at least start giving Jalen more time, more reps, more plays, because at the present time, it's just one of those situations where when a guy gets fractured psychologically and mentally like that, they need to just get away from the game. So they're not going to be able to fix Carson this year. He's going to need an offseason, get away with his family, go back to, North Dakota, South Dakota, wherever it is, just get away from football for a while, and then start to slowly work his way back. And then hopefully there'll be some OTAs this year where he can actually get in, get with the coaches, get with his quarterback coach and work on, the things that, his mechanics and things like that. And maybe coming into next year, he comes in and his confidence is renewed, but he's not going to be fixed right now. So I've been calling for this move, and the thing that really ticked me off, Aeneas, before I let you go, the thing that ticked me off is that you had the Cleveland Browns and you had the Green Bay Packers, and you wait until the New Orleans Saints march into town to decide that you're going to start a rookie quarterback against the number 1 defense in the NFL. I mean, that was almost like a sabotage thing for me, that you would do that you want to protect Carson because you don't want him under that extreme pressure, but you're gonna throw a rookie in there and then turn around and look what he did, and don't nobody want to give him credit for it. I mean, that just makes no sense to me, man. It just
Hey, Seth, when we think of Jalen Hurts, think about the horse that the man tried to bury. He dug a hole, put the horse in it, and then start throwing dirt in there to bury him. Every time he threw dirt in there, that horse stumped on the dirt, Seth. And eventually the horse came out. That's Jalen Hurts.
Listen, man, I love your philosophy. You got some sayings, man. You need to write them down and put those in the book. I'm going to let you run, my friend.
I love you, man.
Every single week, our time is our most valuable commodity, man. And listen, I appreciate you taking 40 minutes out of your time to spend with me on the Seth Joyner Show. Thank you, my friend.
I am honored, Seth, and I would be honored to come back on at any time. Keep up the great work. Love you. Tell your son I said hello.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, guys. Let's I'm going to start you guys off with a video. We're going to start with the offensive video, talking about Jalen Hurts last week, his touchdown throw to Alshon Jeffrey is self-narrated. So we'll just post it, and then I'll come back and we'll have some discussion on it. There you go. Okay, it's 4th and 2, and for obvious reasons, I want to show you guys this video and break this down. This pass from Jalen Hurts to Alshon Jeffrey. There's been a lot of talk about the Eagles receivers not being able to separate and get open. And I agree. They don't get open that often. They don't separate that well because they don't run great routes. But sometimes as a quarterback, you got to throw your wide receiver open. And remember, it's 4th and 2, 0 coverage. Jalen Hurts knows what he's getting. Okay? So maybe he audible to this. Maybe this was the automatic. Nobody knows. But I want you to watch the throw under pressure because he doesn't have the protection to pick it all up. Boom, look at that hit. But I want you to watch the throw and the placement of the throw, and then later on I'm going to show you why he was able to do this. Touchdown. Back shoulder throw to a 50-50 wide receiver, beating an all-pro cornerback. And you know that Alshon is not beating Lattimore on a regular basis. But these are the types of throws a quarterback has to make to his receivers that can't get open. Okay? Phenomenal catch, phenomenal touchdown. Look at the blow that he takes. He's not flinching. He's not blinking. He's not wincing. He's not shying away from anything. He knows he's going to get blown up, but he stands in with accuracy and takes this blow without short-arming the ball, knowing that he's going to take a massive blow here, okay? The good quarterbacks, this is what they do. Because if you're going to get hit, you might as well complete the ball. You might as well complete the touchdown. You might as well make the play. Okay? And Jalen Hurts is a quarterback that will stand in. He's not afraid of contact. He's not afraid of pressure. He will stand in and make these types of throws under pressure. Great day for this young man yesterday. I just wish that the rest of the football gurus and pundits would give this kid some credit instead of Doug Peterson standing at the podium talking about a team win. This kid played well. He deserves some props. And I think, next week you're going to see some more of these plays from him because he has that it factor. So that's video one. That's a offensive video that I put together, Jalen Hurts. And, I've been debating with people. I actually put it up during the game last week. I kind of threw it up in an abbreviated version. And I've had people come on my social media and pretty much say, hey, well, you know what? Carson Wentz used to do that. The optimal word is used to, because I can go back to the Seattle game. And I believe last week I put that video up for you and explained to you why he missed that throw to Dallas Goedert up the seam against Bobby Wagner. Same situation. First of all, he didn't get the ball out on time. He was late getting it out. The other thing is, as the pressure was coming up the gut, he did flinch. He did wince. He did short arm the throw. And that ball hit Bobby Wagner in the head that should have been a touchdown if he throws that ball and he leads it. I'm just a little miffed and quite honestly a little, peed off because, after the game, everyone asked Doug Peterson, what do you think of how the young quarterback played? And his response was, it was a total team effort. Everyone on this team had a hand in it. And my thing is, whatever happened, so when Wentz goes out and throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and, and the team, it's okay for us to give him props. It's okay for us to pat him on the back. It's okay for us to lift him up. But you mean to tell me as a head coach that you couldn't lift up a young player who had no OTAs, he had no training camp, and he had no preseason games. And here you insert him maybe 3 to 4 weeks too late, and you put him in against the number 1 defense in the NFL. And the guy doesn't throw a single interception. Yeah, he threw one that should have been intercepted, but if the defense don't catch it, should have been, could have been, might have been, don't count. Okay? He had 1 turnover that didn't really cost the team, and he made plays and great decisions in every which way that you could think of. But the head coach can't find it within himself to give this guy some props and tell this guy, and talk to everyone and say, hey, the guy played great. I don't get that. I mean, what is it that you're defending against? Are you defending against hurting Carson Wentz's feelings? Are you worried about how he might feel that you give credit where credit is due? To me, that makes no sense whatsoever. What has this organization evolved to when you get to a point where your quarterback possesses that much power that when he doesn't play well and his backup comes in and play well, that you can't even give him the proper credit and the proper props that's due him because you're worried about the guy that's behind him. You're worried about the backup getting in his feelings. That makes no sense to me. None whatsoever. And listen, I respect the heck out of Doug Peterson. I respect him a lot. I respect him as a former player. I respect him as a football coach. I respect him as a Super Bowl champion coach. But this one just doesn't fly for me. This one really rubbed me the wrong way when incessantly he had been asked, what do you think about how your young quarterback played? And he had nothing positive to say other than it was a total team effort, And yeah, I'm not trying to take anything away from the defense. The defense played lights out. They played well. The game plan going in was to make Taysom Hill beat you throwing the football. So they got up and they shut down the run. They locked it down. Latavius Murray got locked down. They got to a point where they stopped committing to giving the ball in the run game to Kamara. I don't think they really want him to run the ball that much. I think they really want to activate him through the passing game. But the point is, they did what they had to do to make the New Orleans Saints one-dimensional offensively and force Taysom Hill to beat them. And Taysom Hill just had an off day. He had an off day because he was under pressure, And pressure to me, like I always say, is like kryptonite to Superman to quarterbacks. They all are susceptible to it if you can create it. Okay. But then you turn around and you look at Jalen Hurts and everyone wants to poo-poo what he actually did. Listen, you're not going to tell me that Jalen Hurts ran the ball 18 times. Barrett Brooks and I had this debate, on postgame. Oh, they won because they ran the ball. No, Miles Sanders still only ran the ball 14 times. I don't think the running backs really touched the ball any more than 20-something times. The Eagles, ranked almost dead last in rushing attempts by running backs in the NFL at right around 20-something carries per game. Okay? So nothing changed. And at the other end of the spectrum, guess what? Jalen Hurts Yeah, he rushed for 100 yards, but all of those plays weren't called runs for him. You got to go back and look at the film and look at it in context and understand that there were times where the protection broke down. The New Orleans Saints was in man-to-man coverage. They even came sometime in a 5-man pressure. And Jalen Hurts read it and broke the pocket and made a big play. But it's marked down as a rush instead of a quarterback scramble. The NFL needs to figure out how to change that stat so that the rushing yards are more realistic, than how they actually look. But the kid made plays where he had to make plays with his legs. He stood in the pocket. I had people saying, "Oh, he's a scrambling quarterback." They moved the pocket for him. You can go back and listen to what Doug said. He was like, there were some plays that he made out of the pocket that weren't necessarily designed or called to be out of the pocket plays. But because the protection broke down, he had to run. And understand, he's smart enough to understand this as well. When it's man-to-man, he's running for yardage because he knows that with a single high safety and everybody else in man coverage, if he can break the pocket, that he's going to gain 10, 15, 20 yards before the defense can react to him. But he's also smart enough to manipulate the pocket and move and scramble when he has to get out of the pocket against zone coverage to allow for guys to find holes in the zone, like that pass to Zach Ertz on the sideline. Zach was coming back to that ball. That was most certainly a completion that the NFL officials once again got wrong. Okay, people say he can't operate from the pocket. Did we not see that 30-something yard reception that Jalen Reagor had on a crossing route? Was him and Zach Ertz crossed? There was a little bit of a pick. Jalen Hurts waited. He waited for the route to clear in the pocket, threw an accurate ball on the run. Boom. Nice pickup. So, listen, I want Carson Wentz to get well just as much as anybody else does. And I know some people don't believe that to be truth and not to be forthright. And a lot of that comes from people trying to, be Wentz apologists, if you will, for Carson. I'm not going to stand by and allow that to happen because I'm not going to let you minimize let Doug Peterson off the hook and put all the blame on him for play calling. Because if you think that he called anything different for Jalen Hurts, that they came up with some new offense for Jalen Hurts that they never ran for Carson Wentz, you're 100% incorrect. But I'm also not going to let Carson off the hook for playing bad football for 12 weeks. And say that, okay, it's an anomaly. It's okay. It can be an anomaly. The Eagles are 4-8-1. Yeah, go ahead and sit him down. We're not going anywhere. Nothing grand is happening for this football team. But sit him down and get this young guy some playing time and some experience and allow Carson to come back next year after he gets his mind right. And oh, by the way, if the young kid keeps playing the way he's playing, then when we come back next year, it should be open competition. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's see what Carson really is. Is it his job? Does he believe it's his job? Or is it just one of those situations where it's been like, hey, here's the job. You're now our franchise quarterback. You're our guy. Come hell or high water, come win, lose, or draw, you're going to be our guy. No. Football is a different type of business. And it's advancing and growing and evolving and changing every single year. And these teams can't allow these quarterbacks to make that kind of money on an ongoing basis continually. And for those guys not to perform at the level that they need to perform, especially when you can get a guy, that's still in his rookie contract, that allows you to kind of rebuild your roster without the financial issues, that you're going through. That's another piece of it we're not looking at. Does everyone want Carson to be successful? Yes. Does everyone want Carson to be, the franchise quarterback? Absolutely, yes. We're not having this conversation. We're not having this debate if Carson just steps up and does what he's supposed to do. We are where we are. A new quarterback is in the game because Carson Wentz hasn't played up to the level that's expected. Plain and simple. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No excuses about it. You can change it. You can shift it. You can change the narrative all you want. But the truth is, he has underperformed this year, and he's played himself in a position when he is now sitting on the bench holding the clipboard with an earpiece in. And based on how he played, that's where he should be. You can be mad at me. You can hate me. You can tell me I don't know football. You can say whatever you want to say, okay? But I didn't put Carson Wentz in this position. Carson's play put him in this position. And Jalen Hurts is the benefactor of it all. All right. I want to get over to the defensive side of the ball because we talked about how great the defense played. Josh Sweat, phenomenal game. The whole front four, Malik Jackson, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox. Come on, Brandon. I'm rooting for you to get them, get those double-digit sacks. But these guys on the front stepped up and played. Still love Alex Singleton, but guess what? He struggled a little bit. And then we can't even really talk about, the secondary. I mean, when you lose a guy like Rodney McLeod, that's a major loss for this team. How do you replace that? The young kid, Kevon Wallace, is going to have to come in and play. He's going to have to learn fast. He's going to have to play fast. It's his time. The Eagles cut Will Parks a couple of weeks ago. So we don't have the luxury of having 4 safeties sitting back there. Okay? So now it's Kevon's time. I saw on social media a couple of weeks ago, he's like, my time is coming. When it comes, there's going to be a storm. Well, you know what? You better conjure up the winds of the hurricane because it's time. It's storm time. We need for him to step up right now. Hopefully, we can get Darius Slay through concussion protocol. And it sounds like Avonte Maddox, although he's been struggling most of the year, he's going to miss some significant time. This is going to be an opportunity, just like for Jalen Hurts and some of these young offensive linemen. This is an opportunity for these guys to show this coaching staff what they can do. Not only what they can do, but also realizing that some of them are going to be here next year, some of them aren't. You are now auditioning for 31 other teams. What you put on film now is what's going to allow and help you to get signed to another team if the Eagles so choose to move on from you. And I like that. I like, these young guys having an opportunity when the season is lost. Let them all play. There's no reason for any veteran that's got any kind of significant injury, for him to continue to play. Let these young guys give them the rest of the reps. Let them play. So I got one more video that I want to show you, and this pertains to the defensive side of the ball and some of the things that ails the Philadelphia Eagles defense, from how the defensive ends play, to the bad vision, the bad eyes of the linebackers, and what actually happens that gets Alex Singleton caught up sometime, because I love how he plays in the run game. Our linebackers are a great liability in the pass game, and I would submit to you a lot of it has to do with the lack of eye discipline that they have, because your body can only do what your eye is disciplined to see. So as you watch this video, again, it's self-narrated. I'll come back, we'll talk about it, and then we'll peace out here in a little bit. The Eagles played a great game yesterday, but it's plays like this, as you'll continue to watch this Eagles defense, that get them in trouble. The defensive end will lose contain because on any kind of flow away, they're crashing, trying to run it down from behind. And then you watch the linebackers. The linebackers are watching the quarterback. They're not necessarily reading the offensive lineman. And they'll say, oh, it looked like run action, but I want you to watch. On run action, these guys are trying to block across the line of scrimmage. On play pass, the linebackers got to see that. Watch them zone parallel to the line of scrimmage because they can't cross the line of scrimmage. Okay? So just look at the eyes of the linebackers. So now, they're going to run this bootleg again. They're going to play pass here, and they're going to take this tight end and run him across. The Eagles have seen this all year long. But watch the play of the linebackers. They continue to not pick up this crossing and understand the play. What Alex Singleton should do is he should read the parallel stretch, and he should turn and get underneath this tight end right here, and they'd have this play taken care of. But he gets caught up. Both he and Sean Bradley get caught up with their eyes in the backfield, and what winds up happening, you got a tight end that's running scot-free here because the linebackers aren't reading properly. Look at them. They're parallel to the line of scrimmage. Everyone can see that. You got the defensive end closing, okay? So when Taysom Hill fakes here, he's got contained. If he just wants to take off and run, hey, he's got 20, 30 yards. But he's looking for the big play down the field where, in my opinion, he probably should run. Okay, here's Alex Singleton, still caught up, looking in the backfield. He should be jumping on that guy's hip right there, okay? These two guys have got to take care of this guy coming to the flat right here, okay? Taysom Hill just misses a touchdown here, plain and simple, because he's got a guy wide open. He's got Jared Cook wide open right here. And you'll see the throw, and it's just long and inaccurate because he's on the run. He should have just kept running is what he should have done. But look at it. He's wide open. You don't tell me Drew Brees would have missed that throw? Now, the defense played extremely well yesterday. But I make this point because this is a play that they're going to see, okay, until the season is over, until they make the adjustment. These are the types of plays that's going to hurt them. They dodged the bullet right there. But they're going to continue to see this play, these bootleg plays off a myriad of different formations because of, A, how the defensive ends play and the lack of discipline as far as eye discipline as far as the linebackers are concerned. Now, I'm going to keep bringing you guys some of these videos. I think, that I enjoy making them, but I think that it's a way to kind of give you guys an inside look at, why certain plays work and how they work. It's just a little, intricacies of the game. I talk about the linebackers' eyes and what they're actually seeing. I believe that, the way the defensive coordinators are teaching now, that they teach their linebackers, to read the quarterback and the running back, which I don't really understand because, the two greatest liars on the offensive side of the ball is the quarterback and the running back. The offensive linemen can't lie in what they do. They're either run blocking or they're pass blocking. Even on that zone play action that I just showed you, the offensive linemen, they can't go across the line of scrimmage on a pass play. So when they're running that action, they're not gaining yards. They're just going parallel to the offensive to the line of scrimmage. So as a linebacker, you got to be able to see that. So our linebackers always get caught up on play action because the minute they get flow one way, we step up. Like we just noted this run without any kind of understanding or logic that, they might run play action pass. Okay, let me take a read step first before, I go barreling downhill. To me, that's coaching. That's coaching. And I still haven't understood why, Jim Schwartz is so adamant about the defensive ends always crashing on play away. Because you saw that play right there, under normal circumstances, Taysom Hill takes off and run. Those are the same plays that, that Lamar Jackson beat us with. Those are the same plays that, the Rams and Jared Goff, even though he didn't run it that often, but he still ran it. Those are the plays. If I'm an offensive coordinator playing against our defense, I'm going to run misdirection all day. Why? Because I know that the defensive ends are undisciplined, and I know that the undisciplined eyes of the linebackers are going to allow me with misdirection to get guys open. And second of all, if I've got a good pass catching tight end that our linebackers can't cover, they're anyone's tight ends. They are a passing liability in coverage, and they've struggled. Nate Gary struggled. TJ Edwards definitely doesn't have the foot speed to cover, and I think Alex Singleton has the foot speed to actually cover. I'm just not so sure that he's able to pick it up unless they're in just pure man-to-man where I'm like, okay, you got him. But any kind of run action that takes his eyes off of his man just for a split second, he's beat. They're all beat, And to me, at the end of the day, that's just coaching. All right. I'll be back next week with a couple more videos for you guys. and I'm working on a Philly legend for next week. But stay tuned. You know I'll be back with another Seth Joyner show next week. That's our show for today. I want to thank my guest, Aeneas Williams, Hall of Fame cornerback with the Arizona Cardinals, my ex-teammate. I want to thank Tom Schrader, my producer, Derek Stevens, my producer. And as always, be good to each other. Take care of each other. But most of all, love each other. Peace out. I'll see you guys next week. Fly, Eagles, fly.